Auckland, California, December 1964. A cold winter afternoon that would forever change the history of martial arts. Behind the closed doors of a small kung fu school on Broadway Street, two men stood face to face. One of them was Bruce Lee. The other was Wong Jackman, a traditional kung fu master from San Francisco's Chinatown. What happened in that room during the next 8 minutes was supposed to remain secret forever. But secrets have a particular way of coming to light, and this one in particular reveals everything about who Bruce Lee truly was. This is the story Bruce Lee never wanted you to hear. If you are passionate about stories of martial arts legends and moments that change combat history, subscribe to our channel and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any episode. Now, let us step into this extraordinary account. It all began 3 days earlier. Bruce Lee was teaching at his Jun Fan Kung Fu Institute in Oakland. He was only 24 years old, but he was already generating controversy. He was doing something unthinkable, something forbidden. He was teaching Kung Fu to non-Chinese students. In 1964, this was considered a betrayal. For centuries, Chinese martial arts masters had kept their secrets within the Chinese community. They believed their combat systems were sacred and should not be shared with outsiders. But Bruce Lee did not care about tradition. He believed truth had no nationality. He believed that anyone who wished to learn should be allowed to do so. This earned him enemies, powerful enemies. The traditional Kung Fu community in San Francisco's Chinatown was watching him. They saw his mixed classes, his American students, his revolutionary teaching methods, and they were furious, deeply furious. On December 1st, a messenger arrived at Bruce Lee's school. He was young, perhaps 19 years old, dressed in traditional Chinese clothing. He entered the school during an evening class. Bruce was in the middle of demonstrating a technique to his students when the young man approached. The messenger did not bow, showed no respect, simply handed Bruce an envelope and left without saying a word. Bruce's students gathered around as he opened it. Inside was a letter written in Chinese characters. One of Bruce's Chinese students translated it aloud. The letter came from the Chinese martial arts community of San Francisco. It was formal, traditional, and absolutely clear in its message. Bruce Lee was violating ancestral codes, dishonoring Chinese martial arts by teaching them to foreigners. He was to stop immediately. If he did not, he would be challenged. Bruce read the letter again slowly. Then he did something that surprised everyone in the room. He laughed. It was not a nervous laugh. It was not an insecure laugh. It was a genuine, amused laugh. He folded the letter carefully, put it in his pocket, and returned to teaching his class as if nothing had happened. But his students noticed something. During the rest of that class, Bruce Lee's techniques were sharper, faster, more intense. Something had changed. 2 days later, on December 3rd, Wong Jackman arrived in Oakland. Wong Jackman was not like the young messenger. He was a serious martial artist trained in the classical northern Shaolin styles. He was just under 30 years old, tall for a Chinese man, with a lean and muscular build. He had a reputation in San Francisco's Chinatown as a formidable fighter. He was known for his speed, his precision, and his adherence to traditional forms. More importantly, he was known as a man of honor. When the elders of the martial arts community asked him to deliver their message to Bruce Lee, he accepted. Not because he hated Bruce Lee, not because he was jealous, but because he believed in preserving tradition. Wong Jackman arrived at Bruce Lee's school at exactly 4 in the afternoon. He was accompanied by 5 other martial artists from San Francisco, all dressed in traditional training attire. They entered the school without knocking. Bruce was teaching a private lesson to one of his students. He stopped immediately when he saw the 6 men enter. For a moment, no one spoke. The atmosphere in the small school became heavy, electric. Bruce's student instinctively stepped back, sensing something was about to happen. Wong Jackman stepped forward and spoke in Cantonese, clear and formal. He said he had come on behalf of the traditional martial arts community. He said Bruce Lee had received a warning and ignored it. He said there was now only one way to resolve the matter, a challenge fight. If Bruce Lee won, he could continue teaching whomever he wished. If Wong Jackman won, Bruce Lee would have to close his school and stop teaching non-Chinese students. The rules were simple, no rules. A traditional challenge fight. to continue until one man could no longer continue. Bruce's student would later recall that Bruce did not hesitate for even a second. He looked at Wong Jackman, then at the 5 men behind him, checked his watch, and then spoke in Cantonese as well. He said, "Agreed, but not today. Give me 2 days to organize my schedule. Come back Saturday, December 5th, at 2 in the afternoon." Wong Jackman nodded. Saturday, 2 in the afternoon. Then he and his companions left as silently as they had arrived. After they were gone, the student asked Bruce if he was worried. Bruce turned to him and said something the student would never forget. "Worried? No, but I am going to learn something important on Saturday, either about him or about myself." Bruce Lee told very few people about the challenge. He did not announce it, did not boast about it. He simply prepared. On Thursday and Friday, he trained differently. His wife, Linda Lee, noticed immediately. He was not practicing flashy techniques or complex forms. He was drilling fundamentals over and over again. Punches, footwork, timing. He was preparing for a real fight. Linda asked him if he was worried about the challenge. Bruce told her he was not worried about winning or losing. He was worried about what the fight would teach him. He knew Wong Jackman was a skilled traditional fighter. He knew this would not be like demonstrations or practice sessions. This would be real. On Friday night, Bruce barely slept, not because he was nervous, but because his mind raced with scenarios, strategies, possibilities. Saturday morning arrived cold and gray. Bruce woke early, did light stretching, ate a small meal, and told Linda to stay home. He did not want her to see the fight. This was going to be serious. At 1:30 in the afternoon, Bruce arrived at his school, opened the door, and entered alone. He cleared the training area, moved equipment aside, and created an open space in the center of the room. Then he waited. At exactly 2 o'clock, Wong Jackman arrived, but he was not alone. He brought the same 5 martial artists who had accompanied him on Thursday. Behind them came 2 older men, clearly senior masters from the traditional community. Bruce Lee had invited no one. He had wanted this to be private. But when he saw the group entering his school, he understood. This was not just a challenge fight. This was a statement. The traditional community wanted witnesses. They wanted proof. Bruce did not protest. He simply gestured for them to enter. The 7 visitors positioned themselves along the walls of the training area, silent, watching, waiting. Then, at the last moment, something unexpected happened. 3 of Bruce Lee's students appeared at the door. Somehow, they had learned about the challenge. They asked if they could watch. Bruce looked at them for a long moment, then nodded. If Wong Jackman could have witnesses, so could he. The students entered quietly and stood along the opposite wall. Now, there were 10 witnesses in that small school. 10 people who would later tell very different versions of what happened next. Wong Jackman stepped into the center of the cleared space, removed his jacket, revealing a simple black training uniform, and began his warm-up. Traditional stretches and forms, moving with precise, controlled motions. Bruce Lee did not warm up. He simply stood at the opposite end of the space, watching, analyzing. One of Bruce's students would later say that Bruce looked different that day. Not angry, not excited, calm, dangerously calm. When Wong Jackman finished warming up, he assumed a traditional kung fu stance and nodded to Bruce. Bruce nodded back. One of the senior masters from San Francisco spoke in Cantonese, saying this was a traditional challenge fight. No eye strikes, no groin strikes, no throat attacks. Fight until one man surrendered or could not continue. Both fighters nodded in agreement. There was no referee, no bell, no countdown. The senior master simply said one word: begin. For the first few seconds, neither man moved. They circled slowly, maintaining distance, measuring, calculating. Wong Jackman held a classic Northern Shaolin stance, weight evenly distributed, hands positioned for both attack and defense. His movements were textbook perfect, exactly as traditional forms taught. Bruce Lee's stance was different, lower, more mobile, with his weight constantly shifting. It was not any recognizable traditional stance. It was something he was developing, something new. The witnesses held their breath. Then Wong Jackman attacked first, lunging forward with a traditional straight punch, fast and precise, aimed at Bruce's chest. It was a probing attack, designed to test Bruce's reaction and speed. Bruce evaded easily, moving his upper body just enough to let the punch pass by his shoulder. He did not counterattack, simply adjusted his position and continued circling. Wong Jackman attacked again, this time with a combination. A high punch followed immediately by a low kick, a classic traditional combination designed to split the opponent's attention. Bruce blocked the punch with his left hand and checked the kick with his shin. Still no counterattack, only defense, observation, learning. The traditional masters along the wall nodded slightly. Wong Jackman's technique was excellent, exactly as it should be. But Bruce's students noticed something else. Bruce was not just defending, he was studying. His eyes never left Wong Jackman's center, observing subtle weight shifts, the tells before each technique. Wong Jackman increased his pace, launching a series of punches and kicks, advancing, trying to pressure Bruce, trying to force a mistake. Bruce gave ground, retreating, absorbing the pressure, his defense tight and efficient. This continued for perhaps 30 seconds. To the witnesses, it may have seemed like Wong Jackman was dominating, forcing Bruce backward. Then something changed. Bruce Lee stopped retreating. It happened in an instant. Wong Jackman threw another straight punch, the same punch he had been using successfully. But this time Bruce did not evade or block it. He intercepted it. Bruce's hand shot forward and caught Wong Jackman's punching arm at the wrist. Before Wong Jackman could react, Bruce had closed the distance and was inside his guard. What happened next occurred so fast that witnesses would argue about it for years. Bruce struck Wong Jackman with a rapid series of straight San Francisco, shouted in Cantonese. "Enough! This has been proven." Bruce stopped his attack mid-motion and stepped back, breathing heavily, looking at the master who had spoken. Wong Jackman, still against the wall, also looked at the master, his face showing a mix of relief and shame. The master stepped forward, looked at both men, and said the challenge had been answered, that there was no need to continue to injury or humiliation, that the traditional one accurate observation is difficult. But there is another possibility, one few people consider. Perhaps the different stories exist because Bruce Lee wanted them to exist. This is what very few people know. 3 days after the fight, Bruce Lee met privately with Wong Jackman. Only one person witnessed this meeting, a mutual acquaintance who had been asked to arrange it. According to this witness, Bruce approached Wong Jackman not as an enemy, but as a fellow martial artist. He told Wong Jackman he respected his skill and courage for accepting the challenge. Then Bruce made an unusual request. He asked Wong Jackman not to speak about the details of the fight, to tell people it had been close, inconclusive, a matter of interpretation. Wong Jackman, confused, asked why. Bruce explained that if the martial arts community believed he had completely destroyed Wong Jackman, it would create problems, make him a target. Every traditional master would want to challenge him to prove their style was superior. More importantly, Bruce said he did not want to publicly humiliate Wong Jackman. He said Wong Jackman had fought with honor and accepted defeat with dignity, and there was no need to destroy his reputation. Bruce suggested that if the story remained ambiguous, with different versions circulating, it would benefit both of them. The traditional community could save face by claiming it was inconclusive. Bruce could avoid becoming a constant target for challenges, and the real lesson of the fight, the need for martial arts to evolve, could be pursued quietly without public controversy. Wong Jackman agreed. This agreement was never written, never formalized. It was simply an understanding between two martial artists who had tested each other and learned from experience. That is why, to this day, there are so many different versions of what happened in that Oakland school on December 5, 1964. Not because people are lying, but because Bruce Lee deliberately created ambiguity to protect both himself and his opponent. The fight was never filmed. There are no photographs, no objective proof of exactly what happened. All we have are the memories of 10 witnesses, filtered through time, emotion, and loyalty. But the impact of that fight is undeniable. After December 1964, Bruce Lee's approach to martial arts changed completely. He abandoned the idea of style altogether. He stopped teaching Wing Chun as a system and began teaching principles instead. Speed, directness, efficiency, simplicity. These became his obsessions, He trained harder, studied deeper, questioned everything. The physical conditioning that would later make him famous, his incredible speed and power, his philosophical depth, all can be traced back to the lessons of that 8-minute fight. Wong Jackman also changed. He continued teaching traditional kung fu, but incorporated some of the lessons from his encounter with Bruce. He became less rigid, more open to adaptation. The two men never fought again. They were never friends, but they maintained a respectful distance. When Bruce Lee died in 1973, Wong Jackman was one of the few traditional masters who attended the funeral. He bowed to Bruce's coffin and said a prayer in Cantonese. When asked why he was praying, he said he was thanking him for the lesson he taught him about his own limitations. So what is the truth about the secret jewel Bruce Lee never wanted you to know? The truth is that it was not the fight itself that was secret. The fight happened. Witnesses saw it. Stories were told. The real secret was what Bruce learned from it. He learned that traditional martial arts, as practiced in 1964, were not efficient for real fighting. He learned that forms and techniques must serve function, not the other way around. He learned that evolution is more important than preservation. But he also learned something deeper. He learned that defeating an opponent is easy compared to transcending your own limitations. Wong Jackman was never Bruce Lee's true enemy. Bruce Lee's true enemy was his own satisfaction with his current level. The fight forced him to confront the gap between where he was and where he needed to be. And that realization, that hunger for constant improvement, is what made Bruce Lee a legend. The fight lasted 8 minutes, but the lessons lasted a lifetime. Bruce Lee never wanted you to know about this fight, not because he was ashamed of it, but because he wanted the focus to be on the principles he developed afterward, not the event that inspired them. He wanted you to focus on Jeet Kune Do, on the philosophy of continuous self-improvement, on the idea that the best fighter is not the one who knows the most techniques, but the one who can adapt to any situation. If this story inspired you and you want to hear more fascinating stories about martial arts legends and moments that transformed history, like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. See you in the next story.